You're overweight and want an electric trike. What size motor is right for you? Stick around. Hey everyone, I'm Dustin. I have nearly 20 years experience in the bike and e-bike industry. And today we're gonna talk about what size e-trike motor is right for someone who's overweight. Now, before we get into it, hit that subscribe button below. Stay in touch with us here at 630. Be the first to know about all the new content we're putting out, giveaways we're doing, and of course, new product releases. All right, I've got two e-trikes here actually that are great for overweight riders. Our Simple Glide Fat Tire e-trike and our rickshaw that you can actually take passengers on. Both are linked in the description below if you want to find out more about them. Now, if you are an overweight rider out there shopping for an electric tricycle and you're trying to determine what size motor is right for you, I'm going to try to give you some insights and help so you can choose the right e-trike motor and ultimately the right electric tricycle. Now, one thing is quantifying overweight, right? So that's a little bit challenging. I'm gonna talk about riders, let's say 200 pounds and above, and I would say, more specifically 250 pounds and above. So even if you are an overweight woman, but you still weigh, let's say 180 pounds, it puts you into a normal class of weight, I would say, that any electric trike is capable of handling in most circumstances. Now, weight becomes a factor on e-trikes, especially when you start to go up hills, or if you're bringing a lot of cargo with you, or in the case of a rickshaw, a passenger. Also, if you want to use the throttle instead of the pedal assist, the weight of the rider will have an impact on how the e-trike performs. But when you're on flat ground, for the most part, the weight of the rider will not have that substantial of an impact unless we're talking about the actual starting, like when you're starting and getting moving. So from a dead stop to moving, obviously a heavier rider, the tricycle is going to get moving a lot slower on the takeoff. Now, with a trike, you also have to keep in mind, you've got 3 wheels on the ground, right? So you're creating more friction on the road than you would with a 2-wheel e-bike, which is why if you are climbing hills, the weight of the rider actually has a bigger impact because, again, more friction on the road, going to be more difficult to get up hills, even if you don't have a motor on it, if you're just riding a tricycle, period. So if you primarily are doing flat ground riding, regardless of your weight, honestly, even up to 400 pounds, if the trike is capable of holding your body weight and is structurally sound for your body weight, we've done videos actually with riders over 400 pounds on our 250 watt electric tricycle, and the trikes perform actually no problem on flat ground. They can use the throttle, they can use the pedal assist, and they haven't had an issue. Now, again, the one thing you want to be careful of if you are an overweight rider, if you can avoid using the throttle from a dead stop, if you're over 300 pounds and you use the throttle at a dead stop, you're just putting a lot of torque on that motor, right? And so those are the kind of things that in a worst case scenario could burn out the motor. In addition to that is climbing hills as well. So if you try to use the throttle going uphill and you're a heavier rider over 250 pounds, let's say, the motor may not like that too much and it may burn out. Now, some motors have a controller with a thermistor in it or thermometer, and that will gauge the temperature. And if it gets too hot, it will cut the motor off. So that exists in some, so you don't burn the motor, but not all e-trikes actually have that. So you just want to make sure you use the power responsibly and, again, so you're not overheating the motor in any given situation. But flat ground, 250 watt. Now on a 250 watt, someone over 300 pounds, you do want to be careful using that throttle to get going. Again, it's a lot of torque on the motor. If you were to work your way up to a 500 or 750 watt, the throttle can handle the startup no problem. It may be slow if we talk about riders over 300 pounds, but you can do it. And then once you get up to speed with a 250, 350, 500, 750, any E-trike on flat ground is going to be able to give you assistance really up to 400 pounds, honestly, no problem. Again, and once you're riding and you have that momentum and you're pedaling and the motor's assisting you, I've never seen an issue. Even on our 250 watt trikes, the motors have been able to perform just fine. Now, when you start introducing some small inclines, I would say you probably want to have no less than 500 watts. And if you start to talk about serious inclines and longer hills, 750 watt is really going to be the minimum. Now, here's where it gets a little tricky. In most of the states in the United States, the max motor size for an electric bike or trike to be classified as an electric bike or trike is 750 watts. I would say that riders 300 to 350 could actually benefit from 1,000-watt motors. Technically, they're not legal to be classified as an e-bike. You could try to circumvent that and buy one and just go for it under your own discretion. Some manufacturers will just not sell into states. The caveat is of course, if you're off-roading, you can ride it off-road no problem because it doesn't apply the same rules of the road, depending on where you're going, right? State parks and things may also have their own regulations. And I will say I have actually seen the police department now confiscating, questioning people on e-bikes if they notice you're going too fast. Now, if you ride responsibly, again, you may be able to get away with it. But I would say anybody 250 pounds and above, if you plan to tackle any sort of hill, you're gonna want a 750 watt motor. Now, even if you have a 750 watt or a 1,000 watt motor, if you weigh 300 pounds, even 250, getting up hills isn't going to be a walk in the park, right? These are designed to be bicycles. They're not motorcycles. So the expectation that you're gonna twist the throttle and zip up the hill if you're over 250 pounds, that is not the case. Now, a 750 watt with the throttle only will be able to get you up the hill if you're about 250. I'm 230. I can get up the hills just throttle. You're not going to go super fast. You go about 6-8 miles an hour. With pedal assist, you'll be able to get up pretty easily with very little exertion if you're 250 pounds. Now, as you creep up to 300, it's going to get a little more challenging. Over 300 pounds going uphill, 750 watts, you can do it and you'll have that assistance. It's not going to be easy. So I think that's important just to know the expectation of what you're getting when you get an e-trike. The other thing too is if you have a lot of cargo, let's say you're bringing the rickshaw and you yourself are 300 pounds and you want to put a passenger on the back, again, flat ground, absolutely no problem whatsoever. I've ridden on here actually with 600 pounds of total passenger weight. Flat ground, it is very, very easy. And I can use just the throttle as well once I get up to speed. Now, hills are where it becomes a little more challenging. I have actually ridden up some substantial hills with the rickshaw with myself and about 200 pounds. So that's, 450 pounds and I can do it. Again, it's not easy. But again, these are designed to be bicycles, not motorcycles. So I think that's really important to remember that if you are looking to buy a, mobility device, electric trike, and you have this expectation that, you can zip around and do anything on it like a motorcycle, that really shouldn't be your expectation. Now, a lot of people have that expectation with e-bikes as well. And unfortunately, you're going to see legislation come down the pipeline trying to circumvent that because that's really not the spirit of what e-trikes and e-bikes were designed for. So it is important as you're shopping as an overweight rider to really think about the type of terrain you're taking on and also the distance, because that's another thing to consider is a heavier rider is going to drain the battery quicker. Now, you can always buy second batteries or backup batteries as well to bring with you on your ride. And again, flat ground, weight difference on the battery, it doesn't make that much of a difference, right? It's when you introduce hills, and if you take a rider who's 160 pounds versus somebody who's 260 pounds climbing uphill, the person 260 is going to drain that battery much quicker. Now, flat ground, not going to be that much difference. And this is just my experience having ridden with friends and other people who are less body weight than me. I can tell when we go on flat ground, we both kind of maintain the same battery, things like that. The other thing too is if you are a heavier rider, you may think that you're going to use a higher level of assistance more frequently because it may be more difficult for you to get uphill. So if you're always in the highest level of assistance, battery will drain quicker as well. So think about what your max expected range is on a ride. So if it's 10 miles, how big of a battery do you need? Now you can get 20 amp hour, 15 amp hour batteries. You can buy backup. There are double battery ETrikes as well. All of those things add to the cost. So a good way to do it could be to just buy into the trike that you like and then buy a backup battery that you can bring with you. So maybe you don't buy too many specs initially because again, adding larger batteries, that increases the initial cost. And if you don't really know how far you're gonna ride, you may end up overspending initially for specs that you don't necessarily need. So, and again, flat ground, the range is going to be significantly longer. I've gone on a 10.4 amp hour battery with just using the throttle. I have gone over 20 miles and the battery still hadn't died. We actually have a video of that on our YouTube channel as well. Now again, flat ground riding, no hills at all, over 20 miles by just using the throttle. Now there's another ride I did where I just used the throttle as well. I did a pretty hilly ride from here to Newport Beach, about 18 miles, and I made that throttle only as well. So you can also strategically use the throttle and the pedal assist to try to maximize your range, get a little coasting when you can, backing off the assistance at certain times. So there's little secrets there on how you can maximize the range throughout your rides. So ultimately, if you're a heavier rider, you could opt for any size, depends on the terrain you're riding. Also battery size, same thing, depends on the distance you're gonna ride. So think about all those things in advance of making your purchase. And if you need any other help or assistance or questions we can answer, you can comment below or reach out to us, the team at sixthreezero.com, or call us 310-982-2877. In addition to that, we offer a 30-day test ride your ETrike policy. If you don't love it in the first 30 days, send it back, no questions asked, no money out of your pocket. In addition to that, we've got a test ride location here in beautiful San Clemente, California. We're at 1046 Calle Recodo Unit K. Come visit us, test out all of our ETrikes before you purchase so you can see if you like them. Also, we offer a 1-year warranty. We warranty everything for 1 year. Parts and labor, we take care of it regardless of if you bought it here, bought it online. We have mechanics nationwide that can help service anything. Now, lastly, join our community. We have a Facebook group called 630 Pedalers. There's thousands of members in the group. Join the group before you purchase to talk to existing riders to ensure you're making the right choice. Then when you have yours, post in the group, make friends, and finally, download our app to track your rides and compete on the leaderboard. So thanks for sticking around, and don't forget, it's your journey or experience. Enjoy the ride.